You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness.
We can deport violent, illegal criminals. That makes a lot of sense.
I continue to believe Mr. Trump will not be president.
Obama was not the president for this system.
Do you think that House Democrats and Senate Democrats should try to cooperate with Donald Trump
if he tries to kick people off their health insurance? We're going to have a Youngstown street fight.
The American people, they voted against Hillary. They voted against this administration.
We pledge allegiance to one flag, and that flag is the American flag.
Welcome to the Abolitionists Roundtable, your all-access pass to the 2017 Red, White, and Blue Conservative Revolution. Join the conversation at 734-822-1600. Now, here are your hosts, Del Marsh, Phil Stargell, and Janice Daniels.
Well, greetings. Thank you for joining the Abolitionist Roundtable. One more time, we're going to take a journey down Freedom's Highway. Again, thank you for joining the Abolitionist Roundtable. Yeah, call your friends, call your neighbors. We are on the radio, and we're going to try to, this next hour, we're going to try to give you as much information as we can. We're going to have some fun here, too. We're going to laugh at some of these liberals. Liberalism right now is in exile, and they out there having a temper tantrum. Can you believe it? They are seriously having a temper tantrum out there. And so, again, this is the history of the Democrat Party. Last month, I didn't read anything or didn't give an acknowledgement to it. But this month, I kind of go back and forth. But the month of February, you know, as a nation, we celebrate Black History Month. And for me personally, I've always said that Black History Month is American History Month, you know. And when we choose this month, it's from of the history of the contributions of our Americans that are Black. And so and a lot of times, I'm telling you, I got to get emails, people from people asking, well, here, I'm not going to go into that. So I get but we get all kind of emails. And so people, we thank you very much for just joining the Abolitionist Roundtable. I was just going to go off into some of the emails, but it's irrelevant. You know, here, let me just go back for a minute. If you know Tim Scott, if Tim Scott was on the Senate floor, he was reading a little bit about telling why he support Jeff Sessions. Matter of fact, I think that the Abolitionist Roundtable would like to do something also. I want to honor because the NAACP now they want to retract what they did in 2009. They gave Jeff Sessions a governmental official award for being someone that has worked in government. And it's a Government of Excellence Award. So if they want to take that back, the Abolitionist Roundtable want to give Jeff Sessions a abolitionist, we call it art honor, and that art honor is called the Liberty Award, you know, protecting our liberties. And so we want to honor him with that liberty, that the Abolitionist Roundtable Liberty Award. Absolutely. So if they want to take that back, Phil and I do a photo op with him, handing a Liberty Award. And because, you know, if you go back and look at his background, Sessions was a great man of honor. I've looked at it. And then once I went and did my own research. And then when I listened to Tim Scott, just go through a number of letters of prominent people that are lawyers and in politics, say some really great things about Jeff Sessions. And all of a sudden, he becomes, appointed. This is one of the president's appointments as the Attorney General. All of us, even the NAACP, thought that he was somebody that was noble. Suddenly,
once he got that label of Republican on him, I noticed that it changed. Did it change did he change, or just because of the philosophy, all of a sudden it was hatred and all kind of animosity, all kind of hurls went at him from that point on?
Yeah, Cory Booker comes out and says things, and he passed legislation with this man. So all of a sudden, is that legislation racist because he's on it?
They did it together.
Yes.
Bipartisan.
Yeah.
So that was a bipartisan.
These people have gone not only, over the top. They have gone insane. You know, nothing is what it is, and everything is anything that you want it to be. You know, these people have really put a real bad touch on America. America used to be a beautiful place until we let the liberals take the lead.
Yeah, it's so much hatred out here now, man. I mean, it's at a level, man. And then again, this is the history of the Democrats. When the Democrats are in exile, they have a real temper tantrum, a real temper tantrum. They go back. And so I'm gonna read something from this is setting the record straight, American history in black and white. And I specifically chose a couple of areas because I noticed that when Democrats are not in power, and it's just like when they were not in power right after the Civil War, they were in exile. And when they created a number of different groups, you know, they created the Klan, they created the red shirts, they created all these different number of groups to intimidate, to manipulate blacks. So,
and you know, they had even had a group called Mother's Little Helpers. See, that's the beginning of them using words to deceive people. You know, like the Affordable Health Care Act. You know,
yeah, no,
so,
that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
I mean, they have mastered deception in words. You know, they are wordsmiths, and everything they say, you have to parse it very, very, very vigorously. And so I hope that people take a lesson from what's going on now. I mean, the way that they are fighting the president of this country today is unprecedented. I mean, every person that he nominated for the cabinet is unacceptable to the Democrats. And if they had any power to stop them, they would have stopped every last one of them.
Well, again, when Democrats are not in power, I mean, we noted that if you go back over since 2010, they lost over 1,000 seats. So, you know, in neighborhoods and in city halls and in state representative buildings and in the House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate, and in the presidency, they are in exile. They have no power. They don't have any political power. So what they did is they defaulted back to their old ways, and their old ways is intimidation. And their old ways is manipulation. This is what they defaulting back to. This is what they used to do. They used to do to some of the people that now they represent and that don't know the history, their history. Because there's so much, I'm just going to try to find a place. I want to go over some of this is from setting the record straight. And then we're going to get to some of our calls here. Before I do that, let me do this right here. I want Tim Scott to help me first. Set my platform, and then we're going to get into this right here. So, Derek, if you don't mind playing soundbite number 1 for me. Soundbite number 1. This is Tim Scott.
My good friend Cory Booker last night spoke about a true American hero, John Lewis. And John Lewis is an American hero. I know that this may or may not be popular with everyone in the chamber or everyone in America on the conservative side or the liberal side, but the reality of it is simply this. He was beaten within an inch of his life so that I would have the privilege not to stand in the chamber, but to vote, to simply vote. We should all thank God for the sacrifices of men and women so that people like myself and Cory Booker and Kamala Harris would be allowed one day not to simply vote, but to serve in the most unique, powerful, and one of the most important legislative bodies in the world today.
All right, that's enough right there. Okay. All right, so he called, Cory Booker his friend. All right, that's fine. That's fine. I think that's a misguided. He's a little misguided with that right there. I still like Tim Scott. I'm not saying anything bad about him at all. But then he went on to say that that John Lewis is a hero, and that he got beat for him. No, he did not get beat for him. He did not get beat for me. I didn't come up on the shoulders of John Lewis. I didn't. The abolitionists did not come up on the shoulders of. See, there's two different perspectives that's going on, just like it is today. But again,
if what he said was that John Lewis made it possible for him to vote, not just the civil. But here's the thing. John Lewis didn't do that.
No.
It was Republicans that put the first elected officials in Congress.
That's right.
After the Civil War. It was the abolitionists, former abolitionists, that finally got the job of freeing this, giving freedom to the slaves.
That's right.
In this country.
And right away gave us the 13th, 14th, 15th
And by the way, people like Cory Booker have not ever acknowledged the fact that it was the Republicans. They have never acknowledged them and never have said, I just want to give a note of thanks. Well, Tim Scott is gracious enough to thank him,
and that's what I'm saying. See, he think that's noble, that he's gracious enough. But see, I think that what he did is, for me, he gave me it was a disservice, because it goes back to this theme that the theory that liberals been trying to sell people on, is that it was America that was racist, that it was America that had slavery, it was America that was doing the intimidation.
That's right.
And it was not.
It was the southern states that seceded from this country.
And they were Democrat states.
That's exactly right. And those same Democrats are talking about California seceding from the nation again, because and we are sitting back and allowing people to like the states of even our own state here, Michigan, to defy the federal government and say that we're going to continue with sanctuary states, and that's basically a secession from the greater federal government. And you and I both are real hard opponents of big government.
Yes.
But what I'm saying to you is the same thinking that had the 9 states secede from the Union are being practiced in California and parts of Michigan by defying the federal government and saying that they're going to continue with this nonsense of some sanctuary city.
Yeah. Okay, and so again, with that being said, you brought up a good point, Phil. So we see a lot of similarities then to this point of time. But so here, let me just go into. I want to just say one of the. This is from 103. Well, here, let me go back for a minute. So
go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes, go ahead.
When you talk about similarities, you want to know the similarities. You were enslaved during slavery, when slavery was in this country. You were enslaved. You weren't allowed to speak. You certainly weren't allowed to vote. Well, what is California doing when people like one of their revered protected class tried to speak the other night? What did they do? They made it so he couldn't speak. And if they had their way, you understand, he would not only not be able to speak, he would be somewhere because he chose to take the conservative side of issues. They would put him in some kind of a camp. Tell him that he needs retraining. That's the kind of thing Democrats do. What is slavery other than forcing you to believe what somebody else wants you to do?
Okay.
Yeah. So I say to you, people, watch what these Democrats do, because they are by nature totalitarianism. Totalitarians. They want to have total control, and they will force you to do what they want you to do.
Okay. All right. So we're going to get to some calls in a minute, but here I just want to say the reason why I say that John Lewis, and then I want to get into a little bit, we're going to read some of the things that Democrats did to some of their, today they represent over 90% of black Americans in the party, so let me just say this right here. So absolutely, he said that, but then I said, well, hold on. John Lewis today, just say for instance, if John Lewis was captured by the Vietnamese and they tortured him, and later he turned around and joined the Vietnamese army. Well, he was intimidated, he was beaten by ISIS, and now he has become a member of ISIS.
Yeah.
So he was beaten by the Democrats.
Exactly right.
He was beaten he had the dog sicked on him by the Democrats.
They cracked his head like a coconut.
He turned around and he has joined the people that oppressed him, that beat him up. And so that's why I said he can't be a hero.
No.
And I understand that beating that he took, he can't. They spin him around. He don't know which one is which today.
They spun him around
because he done turned right around, and he has sided with the enemy.
Yeah.
And so first thing he said, we get President Trump. He's not a legitimate president.
Yeah.
And
then he, just conveniently forgot the fact that he didn't show up at George Bush's inauguration, and makes it out as if Trump was the next coming of the devil, and this is why it is so important that people not allow them to whitewash this history.
Yes.
This history is very important for you to know. And Democrats always talk about being on the right side of history.
Yes.
Every time they've been on the wrong side of history. Every time.
All right, here, I'm going to have to clear some of these lines. I'm going to get into this in a minute because we got to get into this right here. I mean, that's like Phil, what if Phil, folks, what if Phil went out here, he was out there and with the Tea Party and turned around and he come back and said, well, I went on and joined the one of these leftist groups that 99% Occupy Wall Street or Black Lives Matter. What would you think if Phil came in here today? He went out there, they beat him up, and he said, you know what, Dale? I had a change of heart. I'm still gonna be here, but now I am. I joined Black Lives Matter. What would you think about that? This is how I see John Lewis. When he see John Lewis as a hero, he turned around and joined the people that beat him up.
Well, next week we're gonna expand on Black History Month, and we're gonna tell you just what the Democrats practice.
Yes.
You remember Pitchfork Ben
Yes,
Tillman? What did he say?
I got some on Pitchfork. I got something.
What did he say? By the rope.
That's right.
By the gun.
That's right.
By the knife.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. They believe in knocking you upside your head to make you do what they want you to do.
Yep. It's so much in here. Okay, so here I'm just going to do give me a few minutes on the calls and then I'm going to get to you. All right. So it says the first device was the poll. So, now this is what let me give you a perspective a little bit. After Democrats lost and they have no power, now they have to control their former slave. And so they come up with different devices to intimidate. See, he got the right to vote now. You know that blacks had the right to vote before women.
That's right.
They got to vote. And so now Democrats, they still want to control that vote. All right. So I'm reading from 103, and it says the first device was a poll tax, a fee paid by voters before they could vote. The fee was high enough that
most poor was unable to pay the tax, therefore unable to vote. All right, so right away we know that the Democrat now not only was blacks not able to vote because they couldn't afford to pay the tax, but Southern whites were not also unable to pay the tax. Democrats in Tennessee enacted a poll tax in 1870, as did Democrats in Delaware in 1873. After announcing that this was not morally bound by any of the three post-Civil War rights amendments to the Constitution in 1874, Texas proposed a poll tax also, and so on and so forth. The second thing they did is, so they came up with a poll tax. The second thing they did, they came up with a literacy test. It had nothing to do with whether you could read it or not, but the literacy test was, it was a 20-page long document, and asked about the administration, asked about government. So you had to answer all these different trick questions about government. The third device that the Democrat, now this is the history of the Democrat Party. The third device they used was to disenfranchise black Americans, and they came up with something called the Grandfather Law. The Grandfather Clause. Grandfather Clause was a law passed by Democrat legislators allowing only those individuals to vote who father and grandfather could vote. Now, this is the history of the Democrat Party. So when and again, I'm not bashing Tim Scott. He's a very noble person. He's on the right side. He joined the people that freed him. He joined the side that's still fighting for freedom today. You know, we always talk about a great American, what's her name? She said that I freed 1,000 slaves. I could have freed 1,000 more if they knew they were slaves. Today, John Lewis has helped enslave millions and millions of American blacks into that party today, and they have no idea they're enslaved. What I mean by they enslaved to bad schools. They enslaved to bad social programs that have destroyed their neighborhoods
and their families.
They enslaved to abortion. That's right. They enslaved to the highest incarceration rate. Well, why is this incarceration so high? Well, because of these bad schools.
Exactly.
And so bad schools lead to because you don't have a job. Now you go out and you start stealing stuff. You know. So you got this behavior. They're not teaching them anything. So and then second, the reason why they have a high abortion because now government is come in and came up with all these social programs, kicked dad out. Mom said, well, shoot, if we need a little temporary help. So she qualified for these social programs, kicked him out the house. Now mom is right. And a lot of mothers did a great job. I'm not condemning them at all. A lot of women did a great job based on the cards that they were dealt. And so now men no longer in the household field. Right. And it's then led to this mass incarceration rate.
And
I'm sorry. This is something I want to dedicate this to Pocahontas. Folks, we'll see you on the other side of the break. And then we're gonna leave Black History alone. We're going to talk a little bit about some the week's events. See you on the other side of the break.
to the Abolitionists Roundtable, patriotic, red, white, and blue, conservative all-access radio, with your hosts, Del, Phil, and Janice. They're leading the charge and advancing the conservative revolution. Join the conversation at 734-822-1600.
Hello, I'm Milt, and this is Logically Speaking Uncensored, the Washington, D.C. feminazi baby killer insurrection. On Saturday, January 21, 2017, on the Mall in Washington, D.C., capital of the United States, the greatest nation on earth, there was an insurrection that simulated a third world hellhole when contingents of malcontents, mostly pro-abortion, rent-a-mob female anarchists, congregated to promote the killing of babies and disparage and denigrate Donald Trump, a legal American citizen whose presidency threatens their secular humanist orientations. The seditionist media headlined the insurrection as the Women's March, but this was fake words because it implied that every woman in the United States was for abortions and hated President Trump. Ashley Judge, an insurrection anarchist, articulated proudly that she and the females in attendance were nasty. To underscore her remarks, I combined feminist and nasty and created a new identifier I call feminasties. And because of the feminasties' rabid opposition to the sanctity of life and their devotion to infanticide, I call them baby killers. When I combined the two, I labeled the fiasco in Washington, D.C. as the feminazi baby killer insurrection. Feminasties, knowingly or unknowingly, are dedicated followers of eugenicist Margaret Sanger and shameless, unapologetic disciples of Dr. Kermit Gosnell, who through the genocide of abortion killed more black babies than anyone in American history. And feminasties with gutter language that put houses of ill repute to shame tolerated proliferated hooliganism and thuggery during the insurrection as people identified as President Trump's supporters were violently assaulted and berated. The feminazi baby killer insurrection was orchestrated and financed by anti-American fanatics like George Soros and saturated with the indoctrinated influence of erstwhile communistic socialist Saul Alinsky. Therefore, the anarchy in Washington, D.C. should come as no surprise because it was just another salvo from collectivists engaged in Civil War II. The instant mobilization of rent-a-mob brigades with pre-printed signs and coordinated chants of anger hypocritically prohibited pro-life heterosexual real women from expressing their anti-abortion sentiments. Former President Ali Obama said he wanted an army as powerful as the regular military. Such remarks from a commander-in-chief of the most powerful military in the world are illogical, unless he was referring to becoming the commander-in-chief of anti-American forces like Code Pink, MoveOn.org, Wall Street Occupiers, Black Lives Matters, the Muslim Brotherhood, the American Communist Party, Planned Parenthood, and Hate America First subversives. Be not deceived. The feminasties have been recruited into the Democrat Party's shadow government, professional underground militant agitation regiments. Therefore, the lesson to be learned is that the enemies of the state are an undeniable evil reality that cannot be dismissed. I am Milt, logically speaking uncensored, saying, think about it.
Man, I think Milt, I think Milton Field did not appreciate that women's march.
Yeah, and I tell you, people, you have a true American hero here.
Mm-hmm. That's what you call a true American hero. Yeah,
because he is absolutely explaining it just like it is.
Yeah. So absolutely. All right. Here, I'm gonna get to some of the calls, and I'm gonna try to get a little bit more into the history of the Democrat Party.
because this is important that we remember. Santander said those who do not remember their history are doomed to repeat their history, and so we see John Lewis. He is starting to repeat the history of the Democrat Party. That intimidation, that manipulation. This is what he's doing. And Reverend Wayne Perryman's book. Unfounded Loyalty, he said this right here. He said today black Americans don't even know they have turned around and they identify and he said they turn around and they support the same kind of intimidation and manipulation that Democrats did back then to suppress people from voting. So when we go out to when you see a rally, when you see these rent-a mobs, remember it was mobs that used to go out and they enacted justice. Say for instance, it could be a white woman that claimed that this black guy raped her, and what they did is they broke into jail and they dragged him all out and they hung him. And this is what Democrats used to do. Well, today they're not hanging anybody, but what Clarence Thomas called it is a high-tech lynching.
That's right.
Today it's the lynching of your character, and so when you see all these mobs out there, the other thing that what they're doing is they're destroying your businesses. They're destroying people's property. They're destroying cars. All kind of stuff, and in some of these Democrat cities, they just letting them do it and not arrested. You know, when they had this event in Berkeley, how many people got arrested?
It's Jim Crow law.
They destroyed the college. Only one person got arrested.
But black people have taken up the same policies of the Jim Crow era, and exactly what they did in Jim Crow times. The sanctuary cities, for example, they have a protected class.
Yes,
and they do everything to maintain that protection. So that's the same thing. They've adopted Jim Crow laws and just renamed them.
Yeah. All right. So here, let's get to and I want to thank Bruce for holding on. Good morning, Bruce. How you doing from Grosse Pointe?
Good morning, guys. It's a fascinating show. I've been listening intently. I did not know about the grandfather clause.
Yes.
That's something that's a new one to me. But you guys had something new every time you're on the air. So I certainly do appreciate that. Hey, what I wanted to talk about today is that starting around 9 o'clock this morning in various parts of the country, depending on what time they are, there will be a nationwide protest against Planned Parenthood, selling of body parts, the fact that they don't offer prenatal care like they say they do, all this stuff, just these lies that Planned Parenthood's been telling about pretty much from the beginning. There's several protests in this neck of the woods. There's, I believe, 2 in Ann Arbor. There's one in Detroit, down on Cass Avenue. There's also one in Warren, Ferndale, and also Livonia, out by where you are, Phil. And I strongly urge everybody, it's a little bit cool today, but at least it's not snowing or raining, so it should be good weather. We need to get people out. To get out and just support the unborn, because the unborn are the most vulnerable class of people among us. They have no voice, they have no ability to defend themselves, and they need us to stand up for them. Where would we be if we weren't aborted? If we were aborted, Phil?
That's a good point.
Exactly right.
And again. Just this week, I was just watching the local news, and they had a number of, this is no indictment on Detroit, but they had a number of protests and kids out there with the teachers because of school closings. Well, they don't realize that they just ride up on 8 Mile Road. There's 2 clinics, and one day I went to lunch, I rode past, and I went and just sat in the parking lot and just kind of watched both of the clinics. Just a number of people went into these clinics, both of those clinics, and unfortunately, no disrespect to women, to black women, 80% of them were black women that were going into those clinics. And so when I saw this protest, I thought about it, and I said to myself, they don't know the reason why that the schools are closing, they don't have any children.
That's
It's
right.
because you go on 8 Mile and the parents are going into those clinics and they're leaving the children there.
And what you said about the weather being good and people should turn out, look at how many people turn out for environmental programs. People like the Sierra Club have millions and millions of dollars donated to them by Hollywood elites, right?
Right.
And what are they out there for? There certainly would not be anybody in the Sierra Club that would advocate what happens in an abortion clinic on any animal.
Yeah,
even the deer in Ann Arbor.
We see these stories about the poor dog that got his nose cut off, and his ears and his tail, and that sort of thing. And that's terrible. That's a terrible thing to do. And the person who did that should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. But thousands of times a day, guys, tens of thousands of times a week, we see something far worse that's going on in supposedly safe. You mentioned Gosnell. Supposedly safe, legal and rare abortions. It may be legal and may be safe or rare, but it's not. It's not rare, and it certainly is not safe.
But people like Hillary Clinton say things like the unborn have no rights.
Right.
And yet still, what are we doing? We're going all over the world, giving everybody around the world rights. And as to that last ruling by this weird old judge that says, that the president doesn't have the power to do what he's doing.
Right. Well, that's a load of crap, because the president of the United States does have the power. And he has a responsibility to protect the citizens of this country, no matter what your political persuasion.
I hope he just does one thing with his power this weekend, is to having a presence of that powerful office out there and join with the people out there. So, because this is where we're going to have to do it. It's got to be in the trenches, and it's got to be people understanding just exactly what they're doing, and they act as if they don't, and the Planned Parenthood gives them the cover by doing all of the lying, like you said, about what their services are. They are in business of aborting babies.
Well, abortion is not health care, okay? Abortion is genocide. Abortion is murder. And for people, if they want to know where the map and directions to the particular locations I mentioned, go to protestpp.com and hit the locations tab, and it'll give you an entire list, state by state, city by city. And so I urge everybody, come on out today, please stand for life, because life is the first of the unalienable rights that Thomas Jefferson so masterfully enumerated in the Declaration of Independence, our founding document.
Yep. All right. Thank you very much. We're going to get to some more calls. Thank you very much,
guys.
Bruce.
God bless, and hope to see you out there today. Take care, guys.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Okay, we're going to get to our next call, but here, I want you to, Derek, I just sent you a new number 3. If you can play, we got a soundbite number 3. I want to set the table for this right here. This is, Phil mentioned the Sierra Club, and the Sierra Club is about protecting the environment. And so Tucker Carlson had Michael Brune, who is the executive director of the Sierra Club, and he asked him a question about why would this environmental group, why would they support Planned Parenthood, and this is his answer.
And so I'll give you another example, abortion. So last year on the anniversary of Roe v. Wade, you all issued a press release saying that the Sierra Club stands in solidarity, I think I'm quoting, with Planned Parenthood. Now, people feel that way, okay. What does that have to do with the environment? Why does legal abortion make the environment better?
Well, we believe in empowering women's rights. We think that women who have rights and who have the ability to have choice about their reproductive, make their own reproductive choices, will help to produce strong families and will help to protect the environment at the same time. Sierra Club is pro-choice.
But why? I mean, I get that you're pro-choice, that's fine, but that doesn't, what does that have to do with the environment? Like, how specifically does more abortion or legal abortion help the environment?
Well, it helps to address the number of people that we have on this planet. We feel that one of the ways in which we can get to a sustainable population is to empower women to make choices about their own families.
Okay, so fewer people is better for the environment. All right, well, given that's your position, which is a position, then the United States population has pretty much doubled in the last 50 years.
All right,
It's now
thank
about
you very
200.
much. Thank you very much. So again, we believe something. See, again, these liberals believe that it's too many people that we have to kill them off. So they don't have a problem. They know it's a child, and they know that we have evidence that it's a child right away, and they know it has a little heartbeat. But unfortunately, we have too many people. We cannot sustain the planet. America, folks, America represent only 4% of the land mass on the planet. I'm talking about land mass. Okay, so the planet represents over 70% water. So just because I drive a car does not mean that I'm going to destroy the planet. The planet is 70% water. 70% water. Second, they trying to tell me and you that because I drive a car and you drive a car, that what you doing to the environment is greater than the sun. Yeah. Phil, what me and you do it's not greater than the sun.
No.
You can't change the sun.
Nope.
The sun is I can't even describe what the sun is, but I can tell you that what the sun can do to the earth is far greater than me and you driving a car.
Yeah, overnight. Overnight.
And then, the planet is majority water.
Yeah.
It's majority water. So again, we know this is not about, we know that it's all about just murdering people. That's all it's about. They call this sustainable number. We got to get a sustainable number. So they don't care. All right, let's go to Gary from Hazel Park. Good morning, Gary. Thanks for holding on, too.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, I'll be out there in Warren, protesting Planned Parenthood this morning also.
Yes. And again, we know what it's about. They're not helping women. It's not about empowering women. It's not about stronger families. It's about murder, period.
That's right.
They believe it's too many people on the earth, and they got to just be honest.
It's about hate.
Yeah.
Yeah, they hate babies.
They hate babies.
I'd like to talk a little bit about the history of the Democrat Party.
Go ahead.
Back in the day when God was moving upon the face of the earth, and dividing the firmament and making light, he also created everything that creepeth upon the earth. That was the Democrats.
Go ahead. You want to continue what you started? I want to see where you're going with this. Go ahead.
Well, that's it.
Okay. All right. Yeah. But the Democrat Party is a hate group. Absolutely, Gary. It's a hate group, and we've seen that, when they're not empowered, they will do whatever. See, they believe that this is their democracy also. They got people out there thinking that if you keep protesting, if you keep rioting, we're going to affect change. And it's not going to affect change because Democrats don't have any voting power to change anything at all.
You know how we retooled for World War II in the factories?
Yes.
We need to retool our universities. They need to be shut down for a year.
Yes.
And all the professors sent away, and we get new people.
Yes.
Because those guys are a bunch of vicious nonsense.
So you saying you want to have a moratorium on colleges, huh?
Yeah, I want them to teach. Stop teaching to hate. Start teaching to love this country.
That's right.
One thing we need to do is there should be a moratorium. This is what Donald Trump should do. He should declare a moratorium, clean out that government of people that are representing him now. I know he's got his cabinet in place, but I said a couple of weeks ago on this show that there are people in there actively sabotaging his effort.
Yes.
And the court should be, in my estimation, that came up with this idea. They ought to start looking in conspiracy with the Democrat Party to undermine our Democratic, our Republican form of government, and because these people have decided that they are going to take power that was never intended for them to have, and they've done it.
It's not going to take too much investigating to prove that.
I know, because it's obvious that they judge shopped and district shopped enact the stay that they got.
Yeah, to get with the results they want. Yeah, absolutely. We know Democrats
that's conspiracy.
do that. Yeah,
that's conspiracy.
Absolutely. They always they know to get a result that they want. They go file a briefing in a certain district because they know that they see the history of that particular court system that they overturn. Was it 80%?
Yeah, 83%.
83%. And so absolutely. Go ahead.
And the thing is that what we have is them. If they keep talking about discrimination for religion, but what they're doing is discriminating on the person that's in power. Jimmy Carter did the same thing that Donald Trump is doing. Bill Clinton, George Bush, and President Obama,
Here,
all of them.
I got a little something here. Thanks, Gary, for calling this one. I do have a little something, and I want to play, all right, number 2, part 1. And again, you're talking about this immigration. You're talking about before we go to the first part of that soundbite, Derek. I just want to read a poll. This is from Jihad Watch. It says CBS poll. 2/3 of Democrats said Islam and Christianity are equally violent. Okay, so the Democrats, they couldn't wait for something like this to come out because the claim is based on a study back in June of 2005. The New American Foundation published a study that gained enthusiasm internationally publicly as it proposed to demonstrate that the right-wing extremists or white supremacists were a larger threat to the U.S. than Islamic Jihad. The mainstream media was thrilled. White Americans are bigger terrorist threat in U.S. The New York Times. Homegrown extremists tied to poll that jihadists in 2000 jihadists in U.S. since 2011. Now again, they go on. He go over all these different these quotes from all these different liberal newspapers that is the right wing extremists that's a bigger threat today than the terrorists. And and what I did one moment in 2000 since 2011, Phil, there's been over 30,000 terrorist attack around the world by radical Islam.
Yeah. Now here's the thing. Mm-hmm. If they keep talking about there is a discrimination on the part of Donald Trump, mm-hmm. and then they bring in Bannon as an example of mm-hmm. him being a racist, mm-hmm. but nobody ever said anything about Valerie Jarrett mm-hmm. and the power that she had over Obama. And this is what she wrote in college. I am an Iranian by birth, and of my Islamic faith, I am also an American citizen, and I seek to help change America to be a more Islamic country. My faith guides me, and I feel like it is going well in the transition of using freedom of religion in America against itself. Mm-hmm. Now, how in the world can we call Donald Trump and Bannon people that are something that we don't want in the highest office in the land?
Well, and
we have that kind of thing.
They created a study to manipulate this process, and Democrats believe it. 2/3 of Democrats believe that they're equally violent. Okay, folks, we're still in our fundraising month. Go to our website at artofmichigan.com. We could use your help. See you next week.
By mailing correspondence to Art of Michigan, Post Office Box 135, Garden City, Michigan 48135.
Or follow Phil, Del, and Janice at artofmichigan.com. You can also send emails to artofmichigan@hotmail.com. And most of all, continue to listen every Saturday and tell a friend.